Pure class tanking is back with update 50. This is my DK tank setup for 4-man dungeons, built for trifecta pushing. Our general philosophy for our 4-man comp is to just push damage as hard as possible, burn through all mechanics, and skip everything we can with high damage. It's not necessarily the easiest way to get trifectas. It can create really messy situations for the tank, especially when you have to hold a ridiculous amount of adds or different things while the DPS burns. But that's all part of why it makes this setup and this build so much fun. This is not the safe way to tank dungeons. This is the please kill it before it becomes a problem version. So why the DK? DK has really good stuff going after the class rework in update 49, but also after the class mastery passives that got added in update 50. And now how I have this set up is to create burn windows, because in most dungeons these days, there's mechanics that make you stop damage. So you'll normally have like a 10 to 15 second window of where you need to do high damage, and then you have to stop. And then you have to do some sort of mechanic, and then it's back to 10 or 15 seconds of high damage, and then stop, or things like that. And I think DK is just really set up in a great way to do that in 4-man. The other tank option that I really considered heavily is Warden. Most of my trifectas are on Warden tank, and I really love it. And now it could give Major Brittle, which is really great, and Minor Brittle, which really increases the critical damage done. But after doing some pretty rudimentary math, I really do think that the DK will give those burst windows a bit more damage than Major Brittle from the Warden will give. All right, let's get into it. For the build, I have two main setups. I have a boss setup and a trash setup, but then the boss setup has some variations on it in case we need to burn the boss really fast to do super high damage, or it's a super easy boss that we just are going to acuity burn through, so I don't really have to worry about tanking it. Then I just focus on doing more damage debuffs and actually adding some damage of my own. Or then there's the safer boss option for when the boss is actually really hard and I need to get really tanky. So first off, for race, really, Nord is going to be your best option. Imperial is really great too, or even Argonian for the potion resource, but Nord is the overall best for the ulti gen. I'm a Khajiit because sometimes I like to push some extra damage when I can, and also they look cool, but also one of my oldest tank inspirations from way back in the early days was Wohler, and he was a Khajiit tank, so this is kind of a throwback to him. For the Mundus, I have Atronach for the Magicka recovery, and this gets me up to 1569 Magicka recovery on the boss setup, which is pretty good. As a tank, you really want your magic recovery to be really high as you can get it. Then for attributes, I do most into health, and then just whatever it takes to get my stamina to be more than my Magicka. For a lot of this stuff, you want to be around 40k health, so that's kind of the goal. On my back bar, I think I'm at 39. On my front bar, I'm at 41, 42. For food, I'm running the Smoked Bear Haunch, which gives max health, and then Magicka recovery, stamina recovery, and health recovery. You don't really need the max stam or max health if you have enough recovery. Most of your important skills are based off of your max health, not based off of your max Magicka or stamina. For potions, most of the time I just run tripots, which is health, Magicka, and stamina, and they give some recovery too. But sometimes if I really need to get an ulti back, I'll use heroism pots. Sometimes if I keep getting stunned by some sort of certain mechanic, I'll run immovability pots. Yeah, most of the time it's just tripots. Okay, for my main boss setup, the gear, I'm running Saxhleel, War Machine, and Archdruid. Saxhleel gives your group major force when you use an ultimate ability, which increases the critical damage by 20%. And then War Machine gives your group major slayer when you use an ultimate ability, which gives them 10% more damage done to monsters. And I only have this on the back bar, so I'm really only alting on the back bar. You could run a War Machine, Sword and Shield, and then alt on either bar and be okay. But on my front bar, I have just a Druid Sword and a Trainee Shield, and these are just one piece health, just to give a little bit more health on that front bar. And then Archdruid, when you do a heavy attack, applies major vulnerability for 7 seconds, which is a big damage increase. They take 10% more damage. And then for the traits, they're kind of all over the place, but that's based off of playstyle and how you want to run your tank. Early on, I was dodge rolling a little bit too much, so I was running well fitted. I think this probably could be better if it was Divines to give me a little bit more Magicka recovery, or Sturdy to give me a little bit more block mitigation. I've reinforced on a couple pieces to get me up to around 33k resistance when fully buffed. And then on the jewelry, I have all 3 infused with a reduced block cost glyph and then 2 reduced spell cost glyphs. And again, this is kind of similar to traits. It's all about your play style. If you're casting a lot of spells, you're going to want the reduced spell cost. If you're blocking a ton of damage, you're going to want more of these bracing ones. Then on the armor glyphs, I have all prismatic, health, Magicka, and stam. On my front bar sword, I have Absorb Stamina to get a little bit stam back. And on the shield, I have Sturdy to reduce block cost with another Prismatic enchant. On the back bar, I have an Infused Crusher. That's to reduce the physical and spell resistance of anything in my Wall of Elements. That is a very important piece of this, especially with pure classes not having as much pen as Arcanists in the subclass like they used to. Then for CP, it's also kind of based off your playstyle. For me, I have Duelist Rebuff, which reduces damage from single target attacks. I have Enduring Resolve, which reduces damage from damage over time attacks. I have Ironclad to reduce damage from direct damage attacks. And then Reinforced. When you begin bracing, you gain a damage shield that absorbs nearly 6,000 damage for 3 seconds. This Reinforced I really have because I already have so many types of damage shields that adding one on top of that, this really makes you so super tanky that your health bar is barely ever getting touched. And then to go with that Reinforced and all these damage shields that I'll get into, I have Bastion, which increases the effectiveness of your damage shields by 15%. Fortified to give me some more armor. Balanced Vitality to get 1400 more max health. And Rejuvenation to increase my Recov by 90 for health, magicka, and stam. And now onto the skills. On the front bar, I have Warding Contingency. This gives me and my allies a big damage shield and reduces the damage I take by 8% and gives me minor protection. This is one of my favorite scribed skills for tanking. I hardly ever will take this off my bar. And then Goading Throw is my main taunt on my front bar. This deals a tiny bit of damage and taunts the enemy for 15 seconds. It's a hard taunt. Then it heals me a bit, which is nice, and applies Major Maim for 10 seconds, reducing the damage done from that enemy. Then I have Igneous Shield, which this makes a damage shield for me and my allies, and also gives Major Mending, which increases my healing done by 16%. This also procs Blessing of the Peak, which gives you a little bit of ultimate and increases your critical damage. Then Warding Burst, which gives another damage shield, heals a little bit over time, and grants minor resolve, which increases my physical and spell resistance. And then Blood of the Dragon is my main heal. This is a pretty large heal, but also increases the strength of damage shields by 6% for 20 seconds. So you're going to want to cast this before casting a damage shield, but you're also going to want to cast Igneous Shield before casting this to boost the heal. So you'll go Igneous Shield, Green Dragon Blood, Warding Contingency, Warding Burst, and you'll just have a ridiculous amount of shield and healing going. Let me show you that real quick. Igneous, Dragon Blood, Contingency, Burst, Block, 42k damage shield there. That's not even using the main damage shield we have yet. Then for the ultimate, I have Replenishing Barrier. This is just kind of like a oh crap button. If one of the DDs is about to die or I'm about to die, I can hit this. I barely ever will hit that though. The main reason I'm running it is to increase my magicka recovery by 10% for each support ability slotted. Then on the back bar, I'm running Ice Staff, so I have a Blockade of Frost, which can chill the enemy and apply Minor Breach. This does a little bit of damage, but that's not really the main point. It's mostly to proc the Crusher, the Infused Crusher, to reduce the spell and physical resistance. That's one of the main things I'm tracking and needs to always be up. Then Elemental Susceptibility. This is the main Major Breach for the boss that I run. It reduces their spell resistance, and it also can apply Burning, Chilled, and Concussed, which does a bit of damage. Then Hearth and Home. This is a really cool updated skill. It's a heal in an area, but also the healed targets receive Minor Fortitude and Minor Heroism, which increases health recovery and gives ultimate every 1.5 seconds. Also, while I'm in it, I get Major Protection, which reduces my damage taken by 10%. And then enemies are slowed by 70%. So it's doing a lot. The cost is 270 magicka per second. And then Leashing Soul. This is my main way to chain in adds to bring them to me. This does a little bit of magic damage, taunts them in for 15 seconds if they're not already taunted. This also restores some magicka and stamina and applies Major Cowardice for 10 seconds, reducing the enemy's weapon and spell damage. Major Cowardice on top of Major Maim really makes the enemies not hit super hard, makes tanking a whole lot easier, and it really protects the DDs from AoE attacks and things like that because they just don't do as much damage. My main damage shield is Earth Shield Mantle. You increase your damage done by 100 for every single tick of damage, but also you get Major Resolve, which increases your resistance, but then also gives a giant damage shield, 14k damage shield for 6 seconds, and it only costs 2,000 magicka, which is crazy for how big of a damage shield it is. So there's 14,000, but if I do Green Dragon Blood and then it does almost 15,000. But if I do Igneous Shield, Green Dragon's Blood, Contingency, Warding, and then it, I get a nearly 60k damage shield for that first 3 seconds. Do that one more time. Yeah, 57.8k. And then my main ultimate is Standard of Might. This increases me and my group's weapon and spell damage by 300 and reduces damage taken by 10%. It also lets me do an additional 15% damage. It also has the Shackle Synergy, which DDs can hit to do a bit of flame damage. Really how this works is when I drop Standard, it gives that 300 weapon and spell damage, but then it also procs Major Slayer from War Machine and also procs Major Force from Saxhleel. But then on my class masteries, stacked on top of that, I have Lead from the Front, which when you cast an ultimate, you give Major Berserk. So when I'm dropping Standard, I'm giving 300 weapon damage, Major Berserk, Major Slayer, Major Force. It's just a ridiculous amount of buffs every time I drop a Standard. And then the other class passive I'm using is Booming Voice. This gives you an insane amount of recov 15 seconds after dropping that ult. So let me show you. So right now I'm at 18, 15, and 13 on my recoveries. Then once that 15 seconds is up, it goes to 50, 53, 46k on all my recoveries, which is just an insane amount of recovery. The other class mastery I'm interested in trying out is this Resolute Defense. Each second you remain bracing, you increase the amount of damage you block by 6% up to 5 times. Blocking damage has a 20% chance to restore 500 stamina. I'm not really sure exactly which one will be better recovery overall. I think Booming Voice will definitely add more magicka and health recovery, but Resolute Defense might give you more stamina recovery overall. So I'll probably be messing with which one of those, Booming Voice versus Resolute Defense, to see which one works better overall. So how I'll typically start a fight is I'll buff up. You can throw Hearth and Home down where you're going to be, it won't pull. And then taunt immediately to break armor and put wall down, ultimate, and then heavy attack, which does Druid and off balance. And now we're fully debuffed and fully buffed. And then I want to talk through some of the passives because they're important to note. There's not a ton of super important passives, Ardent Flame, except Solar Blaze, where it increases your healing taken by 8%. In Draconic Power, you got Burner Scales, which increases the amount of damage you can block by 10%. You got Elder Dragon, which grants you and your group members minor brutality for 20 seconds, increasing weapon damage by 10% and increases your health recovery. And then the Storm Voice, when you cast an ultimate, you restore some health, magicka, and stamina. Then in Earthen Heart, you have Heart and Stone, which increases your armor, which helps you do more damage. Blessing at the Peak, which when you cast an Earthen Heart ability, you gain 3 ultimate. And then a really important one, Mountain Giant. When you deal damage with a fully charged heavy attack, it applies off balance to the target and restores extra stamina. This is nice if you don't have somebody in your group already proccing off balance with like a traveling knife or something like that. Boom, off balance. And Archdruid. And then just to run real quick through all the other passives I have Medicinal Use in Alchemy, super important. All your race passives are important. In Support, Magicka Aid, all the Undaunted passives. In the Mages Guild, it's nice to have these because it increases the duration of contingency and it reduces the cost of it, but also gives you more max magicka and magicka recovery. Of course, all the heavy armor passives, and if you have medium or light armor, have all of those passives too. All the passives in Destruction Staff except for Trifocus. And the reason for that is because if you have Trifocus on while an Ice Staff is equipped, blocking cost magicka instead of stamina, and I do not want to use magicka for my block cost. I want to use stamina, so I don't have this slotted. And then of course, all of your sword and shield passives. And now on my safe boss setup, the only thing I'm changing is I'm slotting Magma Shell back bar, which gives you 15 seconds of only taking 3% of whatever incoming damage is coming. Basically makes you invincible for 15 seconds. Also, your allies nearby get a giant shield. This is one of the tankiest ultimates in the game. And I really only use this for those moments of we have to make it through execute and there's literally 25 ads on me. And if I don't use this, I'm going to die. That's the only reason I would put this on. Also with this setup, I'm not losing a ton because the damage dealers will still get Major Slayer. They'll still get Major Force. They'll still get Major Berserk. They just won't get the 300 weapon and spell damage from Standard of Might. So it's not a dramatic damage loss, and this makes me incredibly tanky. Then for the easier bosses that we can burn super fast, I like to slot Magma Fist, which this is a nice debuff on whatever enemy you're attacking, and it stacks up to 3 times and increases the damage that they take by 66 for 7 seconds, stacked up to 3 times. And then I switch out Goading Shield for Inner Raid, really just for the Radiate synergy, so the damage dealers can hit 1 more synergy and get a little bit more damage. And then nothing really changes on the back bar, mostly just Magma Fist. And now for the trash setup, the skills and the gear change quite a bit. For the gear, I'm running Turning Tide, Powerful Assault, Spaulder of Ruin, and Radishrine Sword and Board. All the same glyphs on this setup, a little bit different traits on the armor and jewelry. Still an infused crusher ice staff on the back bar. The idea behind this setup is really built around the Vadashrine sword and board. This, when you cast the shield slam ability, it pulls in all the enemies around you. And then with Turning Tide, you can apply major vulnerability in an area. So you pull all of them in and then bash one of them to get Turning Tide procced on the group. And then the other two sets, Spaulder and Powerful Assault, are really just weapon and spell damage buffs. Powerful Assault gives 300 weapon and spell damage when you cast an assault ability, which we're using Razor Caltrops to Major Breach, and also proc PA. And then Spaulder of Ruin gives 260 weapon and spell damage in a 12-meter area around you. Then I have a one-piece Magma Incarnate because this gives Magicka Recovery and Stam Recovery. And then for the skills, still have Warding Burst. Inner Rage for my main taunt, really just to give that Radiate synergy, because I don't need the health or the maim from Goading Throw. Then after you've bashed and brought all the guys in with Void Bash, you can use Choking Talons to hold them in place there so they don't keep moving, and it also applies Minor Maim to all of them, which reduces their damage and does a little bit of fire damage. And then Power Slam for the Vadashrine and still got the heal. Then Barrier just for the Magicka Recovery. In the back bar, Blockade still to proc the Infused Crusher. Razor Caltrops to proc Major Breach, but also proc PA. Hearth and Home for that heal and the ulti regen and Major Protection. Leashing Soul to pull in any stragglers that maybe didn't get brought in with the Void Bash. Then Earthen Shield for the big shield if you need it. And then also Barrier on the back bar too, just for that Magicka Recovery from the Mages Guild passive. I'm never ulting in Trash because Trash is so easy these days, so I'd just rather have the Magicka Recovery. So the basic idea on this for each Trash pack, I'm going to pretend this is a Trash pack here. I'll be running through and buff up. Then you do not cast Caltrops first because you're not in battle yet. So if I cast Caltrops, I actually will not have PA, so I'd have to proc it again. And now I have PA because I wasn't in battle when I cast it. So what you need to do actually is cast Wall first on an enemy. That'll get you in battle, and then Caltrops. And then Void Bash to bring them in and choke them, and then pull in any stragglers. So yeah, that's my DK tank setup for 4-man. Basically insane damage burst windows. The Trash setup just to pull things in and burn fast. If your group really just wants the safest tank possible, this probably isn't it. But if your group wants to make bosses and Trash disappear, I'd highly recommend the DK. It's a super fun way to do it. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Peace.
Spaulder! See to him!
By the superior light.
I see that.
I'll be glad to send more. I'm going to it's the outsiders. So the keepers are afraid to face me. Very well. You'll die in their